What's up, team? Let's talk about Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald. I've been saying Grindelwald since it was announced, but the Crimes of Grindelwald is what we're going with today. As usual, non-spoiler review first, and then we'll get into the details of it for those of you who have seen it. It's a very ultra disappointing movie. It's so fucking boring. Oh my god, I was pained getting through this movie because it's really long. It's an exceptionally long movie that has nothing going on. I have no issue with a long movie if there's something interesting happening. But god damn, there is so much just pointless content in this movie, which is really unfortunate. The story follows if you watched Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which I really enjoyed. I like the Harry Potter universe. I drifted the tail end of the movies. The movie sequence, like, they really try to drag it out and milk the money. It's very obvious when they do that. But I still enjoyed the universe. I enjoyed the movies. I love going to the Harry Potter world at Universal. It's incredible for anybody who's even remotely interested in the Harry Potter universe to go to there and see Hogwarts and Hogsmeade and to go to Diagon Alley and actually experience that. It's so awesome. So I was really excited about this. I didn't read any of the reviews, and Emma enjoyed Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them and was okay with going to see this. We actually had to hire a babysitter so we could go and watch it, and my god. Without getting into too many spoilers, this is basically the story of Grindelwald. I mean, as you can guess from the trailers, escapes. He's free and is at large, and then Newt Eddie Redmayne is charged by Dumbledore, who's played by Jude Law, and he's much younger state in order to kind of pursue and find things out about it. That's the hints the trailer gives. The problem with the movie is that it also introduces, it has to retcon quite a lot in order to be like, here's the characters from the first film, they're still here, and it's like, well, that's okay. I mean, I guess, like, we wanted those characters back, but they kind of have to go, don't you remember when we kind of said this one word? And that means that this character can now be back in the universe? And it's like, oh, really? We're starting? And that's at the very beginning. It's like, we're starting with that. We're starting with that. And they also introduce a whole bunch of new characters that are completely irrelevant to the movie in itself, let alone later movies, because this is... As I was told today, it's supposed to be 5 films, this. It's not a trilogy, it's 5 films. So they introduce a bunch of characters just to this one movie that by the end of the movie are completely just pointless in every single way. And they have quite a bit of screen time for some reason, and we're supposed to care about their story. There's a character who is given a lot of pomp and circumstance at the beginning of the movie as quite an eerie, scary character. And you're like, okay, this is a bit weird. And it's all a bit like, like Dr. Claw. Like Dr. Claw from Inspector Gadget. Like this sort of very evil, sinister character that nobody wants to deal with because he's such a fucking evil piece of shit. And he's gone. Like, he has like 2 scenes of the movie. He has all this build-up for some reason. And then he has 2 more scenes, which are pretty minor. And then he's gone. That's it. That's the end of that character. It's like, why did we do this? Why did we spend time doing this? They introduce Newt's brother. He's very difficult, very anti-Newt. He's like the complete opposite of Newt. And the story that went on with him at Hogwarts. Now, I will say the things I really enjoyed was the return to Hogwarts. Professor McGonagall's there as the younger Professor McGonagall and dealing and teaching, and Dumbledore's teaching Defense Against the Dark Arts. That stuff was kind of cool. I liked that. But everything else was just pointless. It felt pointless while you were there. As characters were introduced and then dropped away again, you kind of understood that these aren't relevant to the story that's happening. And Grindelwald does nothing, like, at all. He's barely even in the movie. He just keeps cutting back to him. He's obviously played by Johnny Depp this time. And I do agree with most people that Colin Farrell, who was the disguised Grindelwald in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, was a much more better portrayal of a villainous character. I thought Colin Farrell did a tremendous job. The acting is fine. Like, it seems the story, J.K. Rowling fucked up the story as far as I'm concerned, is what I got out of this, because everybody does their part really well. Jude Law is really good as Dumbledore. Eddie Redmayne is really good as Newt. The other characters from the first movie make a return are really good as those characters. The problem is, and Johnny Depp is great as Grindelwald. Like his acting was fine. There was nothing wrong with it at all. And I know Johnny Depp is kind of on kind of in a lull, so to speak, with some of his performances. But this wasn't one of them. The problem was the story was just shit, absolute shit, and that was the problem. Like everything they were doing, they acted it fine. But it was dumb. It was really fucking dumb. You were watching it going. At some points, I actually thought they were memeing us with how stupid it was getting, which I'll get into in the spoiler section. But overall, not recommended. Not recommended. Unless you're committed to the Harry Potter world. I mean, you've probably seen it already. But for me, this movie was absolutely awful. And I was watching the clock, waiting for it to end. I was like, how long is this going on for? Because they're not getting anything done, which was really kind of sad. It has some nice moments in it. They also kind of forgot about the beasts in the Fantastic Beasts. Like, they awkwardly cut back to something involving beasts randomly throughout the movie. It's like, oh, no, yeah, by the way, this is Fantastic Beasts. Here's a Fantastic Beast. Let's just put that away, and we'll get it out again later when it's been too long between having something involving beasts. We'll just kind of throw it back in there. Do not recommend, unfortunately. It was so bored and so sad. So there you go. For those of you who are considering this movie as maybe a date or something like that, because I went on date night to watch it, and I feel really bad about it because my wife was pissed. She wanted to get home and watch TV. Let's move on to the spoilers then. So, quick break. Spoiler time. Okay. It was 23andMe, the movie, and nobody cared about anybody. The fact that they brought back Credence, who was blasted into oblivion at the end of the first one by all of the auras, all of the wizards, the president, the whole fucking shabazz, wipes out Credence. He survived. What? Where? Where did he survive that? What the fuck? And now we're under the impression that people are out to kill Credence. Everybody in New York couldn't kill Credence, apparently. Like, everybody failed. Even blasting him point blank with mad fucking magic weaponry did not kill this guy. Yeah, we're worried. Grindelwald's like worried that someone's going to kill him. What are you talking about? He's invincible, motherfucker. There's no way. If you're going to come and tell me that Credence survived the end of that movie and now he needs looking after, are you out of your goddamn mind expecting me to believe that? Oh my God. So I mentioned in the first bit the guy who was like, Newt, we need you to go to, we're going to lift the travel ban on Newt because they're not allowed him to travel because of what he did in New York. If you go and find Credence, because you've got some history there and stuff like that, right? And if you don't do it, we're bringing in like the mega killer. That's the only choice. It's either you, Newt, or it's the mega killer. What? All right. Okay. Yes. Which none of the ministry seem to like at all. They're like, oh God, I can't believe we have to use this guy. There's literally no other wizard in the world who could deal with this situation besides Newt Scamander and this guy, the murdering Colossus of Death, which is what we're supposed to be given the impression with. So obviously Newt won't do it. So it's the murderous Colossus of Death who then turns up with, who stalks them and finds Credence and Nagini talking to that lovely old lady who looked after him and all that. And then he puts his bubble of invincibility up. Okay. Where Credence can't even get through it. Apparently nobody else knows this, because in the first film, they were all diving on the floor and hiding out the way. Apparently you can just make a bubble of invincibility and just stand there while Credence smashes you in the face. Or you can dive around and roll in the dirt and hide from everything in the subway. You know, whichever. It's up to you, I suppose. And then, so that's the only second part with that guy. And then there's a conversation in an alleyway with Grindelwald where he's like, I really need you to look after Credence. Keep him safe. You'll be a hero in the stars. And then he's gone. That's it. That's the end of that guy's role. What the fuck was the whole point in that? Why introduce this ridiculous character to begin with, have him do something else ridiculous in his next scene, and then have this weird conversation where he's actually looking after the guy who can't possibly be killed, and then he's good. Then he just disappears out of the movie. Great. Thanks. Awesome. And then we move on to, who is Credence? Who fucking cares? Right? This whole movie is building up to the very last scene where they go, and you're Dumbledore's family. Ooh, this big reveal at the end. The whole movie is designed to make you care about who Credence is. Nobody gives a fuck who Credence is by the end of this movie, because we are taking on such a fucking ride of Alita Lestrange, the baby murderer, who I really believe they wanted us to care about her dying at the end. And I was like, why the fuck would I care about this woman dying? Honestly, she's a moody twat throughout all of it. You show us that she was a bit of a bitch in school. She tells Dumbledore that she was mean and horrible and she was bad. And then she tells us that she caused the death of her brother. Indirectly, sure, or, you know, she could have said something like, hey, that's not Corvus that you're saving right there. And my actual brother's drowning right now. And some lady's tragically... I mean, that's a horrible scene of that mother thinking her baby is drowning and diving down to try and save that dying, drowning baby. And then 10 minutes after that scene, that revelation that that's what she did, she dies, and it's all this dramatic music. And I'm like, good. What the fuck? Why would I care? What, are you joking? Am I supposed to give a shit? It's like the whole storyline with her and her other brother, who was, you know, she was badly raised, and Lestrange took her mother, and the other brother who's got this unbreakable vow, and no, this isn't really what happened. Let me tell you my life story. And then she goes, but wait, twist, let me tell you my life. I'm sat there thinking, what's going on? And then literally like they were memeing at us, Credence says, so who am I? I started laughing in the cinema. I couldn't help it. Credence just goes, so who am I? Like, and I'm thinking, right, who cares what's going on with these people in this overly dramatic story, which has no bearing. So you're telling me this whole thing that you've been going on with, that's dragged out for like over 2 hours now, is nothing to do with anything at all. Is it? It's nothing to do with anything at all. None of this involves Credence. It's just about you moping about because when you were a kid, you caused the death of your brother. And we don't know who your brother was. We don't really care. Newt doesn't seem to care. In fact, you've caused him problems because of a magazine article that printed wrong. And now let's talk about Tina and Newt and what an utterly ridiculous storyline that was. The idea that, okay, the magazine printed the thing wrong and Newt might be getting married. And she's gone off to start dating someone else. So she would, this subject, even after they meet, and they're both aware of he's aware of the mix-up. And I know Newt's supposed to be very socially awkward. I get it. But this mix-up, which is so easily explained in like 5 seconds, has caused Tina to never want to speak to Newt again. She storms about and she's and they decide to have the conversation about this while after they have snuck past every barrier to entry to get into the archives of the French Ministry of Magic. Now it's time for the talk. And I'm sat in the cinema and thinking to myself, now, this is when you thought this was the good time to introduce this bit of the story. Not before, when they were alone in a quiet place, you know, when they're in Flamel's place. Not there. Not in the street when he chases her and he's worried about calling her salamander eyes. Not there. You were just going to say, oh, by the way, oh, I'm not getting married, by the way. No, the magazine printed it wrong. It's like 5 seconds of words. But no, we're going to wait until we do this. We're going to take Polyjuice. We're going to sneak past all the security. We're going to get past the librarian with her spirit dogs. And then now's the time. Now's the appropriate time to have this conversation, I think. I think now's enough. None of the other times where we were alone, sneaking around together. You know, any other time before we took the Polyjuice. By the way, I'm not getting married. That's the crux of this tense relationship, is this misprint in a magazine. I just couldn't get into it. It was so absurd. It was so utterly absurd that this was the thing that was supposed to be the wedge between this relationship. Anybody else hate Queenie, who's enchanted Jacob into being a complete, almost out of his head heroin addict, is what she would prefer, and he's seemingly okay with this because of the marriage, which, I mean, I get it's a tough situation. I understand that. And I think that they'd have been addressing that tensely. It would have been so much better if they turned up and it's like, okay, first of all, we got to retcon the idea that Jacob only forgot, despite what happens at the end of the movie, only forgot the bad memories. Although he clearly doesn't know where the ideas for his baked goods come from in the first movie, right? He has no idea. It's not like he's remembered the good things like they indicate in this movie. They've had to alter that so that he only forgets the bad stuff. Okay, welcome back, Jacob. It would have been so much more interesting if Queenie and Jacob turned up, and they had to do that retcon for some reason to bring those characters back. But instead of Jacob being all goofy and enchanted and shit and got this love potion on him, that there was tension there. And they were explaining, like, because that would have given so much more motivation to Queenie switching sides. It would have made so much more sense to me then if this was something that had really driven a wedge between two people who love each other, and had been something they were dealing with from the start of the movie, because they don't start addressing that until the enchantment goes away, and then that's when Queenie leaves and she goes off to Paris to go and do her thing. It would have been so much more interesting if you got the sense that this big problem was something they'd been dealing with, and they got together and they were very happy and they loved each other, but they were being ripped apart by the rules of the magic world. And that would have been so much better. I would have loved to see that play out from the very beginning rather than have this goofy ass fucking Jacob, who's clearly like, I guess it was supposed to be funny, but it didn't come across as funny. It came across as weird. And I was like, so Queenie's basically keeping him drugged all the time and having to prop him up and keep cooking for him and keep him alive while he dopily mopes around the universe. What is this? Like, it was weird. It was rapey. It was a bit rapey because he loves her despite whatever she does. And the mind reading and all that, and he butts heads with him and stuff like that. And that whole thing fucked me off. It annoyed me that they brought in so many characters like Lita, like her brother, I forget his name now, who locks them in the dungeon. And gave them so much screen time to try and expand that useless story, like I talked about before, but took away time from the characters that they brought back intentionally. Like, I think Queenie and Jacob should have had way more screen time because they have very, very little. If you actually watch it, they are on screen for such a tiny amount of time. And I also didn't buy Queenie's swap over because Grindelwald doesn't directly address it. Just kind of sends her on her way, like keeps her in that hotel room with the persistent teapot and then sends her on her way. And that's like enough at that point. That's like enough to make her go, let's hear his words when they're at the big rally at the end. And Jacob, although he's with Newt throughout of it, he's just his sidekick, really. He has the big scene where he's like, oh my God, I've got to go and rescue Queenie, and he's chasing her. But he's like in and out of the scenes all the time rather than being a player in the scenes. Comparative, Nagini and... I don't buy the Nagini thing, by the way. That seems like just pointless fan service, but I haven't read the books of the Fantastic Beasts, so I don't want to get into that too much. The Credence thing itself was a waste of time. Like, Credence is a waste of time character. It would have been better if Credence died in the first one and Grindelwald was looking for other creatures that are as powerful as Credence to look into. But obviously they want this tie-up with Dumbledore, which is revealed at the very end. It just didn't make sense because Credence is boring, right? Credence's storyline was wrapped up in the first one. The hunt for Credence's parents, like it's some fucking Daisy Ridley Force Awakens bullshit. I don't know, man. That was garbo. It was pointless. Again, it was just needless. Because by the end of it, Credence is still no better off until the very, very, very end of the movie. So you have 2 hours of trying to track down Credence's fucking family line. Get the internet, dude. And ultimately it results in him knowing nothing until the very, very, very last sort of like 30-second scene where he's now capable. He's got a wand now, so he can blow up mountains. Who needs to go to Hogwarts, am I right? And who needs to go? He can just pick up the wand and off he goes. He's blowing up mountains, no problem. What are we learning here? This is a kid who's had magic repressed his entire life to the point where he's created the Obscurus so powerful, more powerful than anybody's seen in the history of time. And yes, he's part of the Dumbledore family line, but he's not learned a single solitary fucking thing about magic. Not a single solitary thing. And Grindelwald just gives him a wand and that's it. He's got a cannon now. It's a mega cannon, more powerful than any wizard has ever learned. I was like, what? Why? What? So you sort of will it or what? Like, do you not need to learn spells? What are we doing Leviosa for? What's the point? You can just will it if you get a wand and you're powerful enough. Easy game, easy life. Just annoyed me. The whole movie annoyed me. It felt like Rowling was writing a book and had to take like a part of that book out and just make it into a movie. or whether she tried to condense everything to 2.5 hours. Needless to say, as you can tell now, I had huge problems with this movie. Huge problems. I hated the lack of beasts. They have the wonderful opening with Newt's home with Kelpie and things like that. And I thought, this is awesome. This is the world I want to be a part of. Because that was what was so great in Fantastic Beasts, is in going into the case and being a part of this wonderful menagerie of animals. And then you go to Newt's house and it's even better. And they're obviously going to explore the storyline with Bumpy or whatever she was called. Who's taking care of the animals while he's gone. Again, not read the Fantastic Beasts book, so I don't know where it's going there. And that's it. They have the circus, which served no other purpose than to make animals appear on screen. This is what I was saying in the first part. It's like they forgot the beast part, or they just dropped the beast part. It was just tacked on. So they had the whole circus just as an excuse to get weird looking animals on the screen. And then it went 30 minutes without anything involving the beasts at all. Suddenly they get the Asian dragon back out. It does a thing and then they get rid of it quick. And it was like, oh shit, we haven't had a beast in ages. Let's throw the beast into this scene for some reason. And then they just put it away. Newt just captures it and puts it in the thing. Far easier than the rhino thing in the first one, which was a wonderful sequence where they was trying to capture the animals. That whole movie about capturing the animals was most of the movie. Like the Credence thing kind of goes alongside. And then it culminates in that bit at the end with Credence. But the most of the movie is Newt just trying to get the animals back. Which was super fun and super interesting. And then again, they whip out the beastie later on. And, Tina's friends now because she's using the rattle. It was such a chore, every single part of it. And culminated in one of the most bizarre... It felt like they needed an ending battle. Did you guys feel the same way? They felt like they needed this ending battle for some reason. They needed the ending battle. So they have Blue Fire versus Red Fire at the end. Okay, I mean, it kind of looked cool, but what was the purpose of it? Like, it just came out of nowhere. Grindelwald's gone. He's actually gone. There's zero threat or interest going. He's left. It's just the good guys versus magical blue fire is the final battle. Everyone else has walked out. They've beamed up Scotty, and now we're going to have this big fight where, Flamel's going to pop off, but he does the same as everyone else. I mean, it was kind of cool seeing them all dig the wands into the floor to create the ring of red fire, but it was red versus blue fire. Red fire wins. Endo movie. Very disappointed. Ultra disappointed. Love to see your thoughts on it, though. Love to see your thoughts on it. Thank you so much for listening, guys. I do like these little talks about stuff like this. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.